It is this absence of fear that has shaped the person I am today.
That voice right there is an excerpt from her book, Unbroken, the triumphant story of a woman's journey, which is out right now.
Let's go.
Co-written by C.K. Mulford. Keep the applause going for me for a second, Torch. My good friend Carew Daniels told me about this woman, and I was inspired from the moment he brought her up. When he told me who she is and what she's done, it's almost hard to believe. It sounds like it's fiction. The way her journey has played out. So for the citizens, I'm actually going to read, at the risk of sounding
like you didn't sleep last night?
Like I didn't sleep last night.
Okay, we're going to make
the
it
risk
sound
of my
easy.
Oakland public education shining through. But this is Dr. Trisha Bailey, who immigrated to the United States to live in Hartford, Connecticut at the tender age of 13 years old. Follow this, all right? She rose to national attention in high school as a track star, competing across the country in the Junior Olympics. Heather B, she has what I have. We have that in common.
Me too.
Okay. Don't exclude.
Why you keep acting like I didn't run? And like, for real, there's medals and trophies and different things like that. Dr. Trisha, talk to your guy. But go ahead, Sway.
I'm just
saying.
saying.
Legs to prove it.
I never saw any of those things. Dr. Bailey attended the University of Connecticut with a scholarship for track and field. She graduated from UConn. She landed a job at Solomon Smith Barney, becoming a history maker as the youngest stockbroker in the company history at the age of 22.
Beautiful.
Are they now Morgan Stanley?
Yes, they are.
They are now Morgan Stanley. So to give you an idea, the youngest in history stockbroker is this Jamaican beautiful woman, black woman who became the youngest and made this history. She was the only African-American female stockbroker in all of New England.
Wow.
In all of New England. The first company Bailey founded is her medical recruiting firm, Association of Medical Recruiters. On the strength of her personal network in the medical industry, the company generated nearly $1 million in revenue during its very first year.
Different.
She's now valued as a billionaire.
Talk it. Billy.
Dr. Trisha Bailey owns 16 companies that we know of, not the ones she's not going to tell you.
Can't let them know everything.
Just to name a few: Bailey's Medical Equipment and Supplies, Bailey's Pharmacy, operating in 46 locations across 7 states, Bailey's Real Estate. It develops and invests in commercial
And residential.
and residential real estate throughout the U.S. and Caribbean. Bailey's Scrubs, Serenity Entertainment. Bailey also owns stakes in 3 NBA teams.
Damn.
The Charlotte Hornets, the Phoenix Suns, and the Atlanta Hawks. Citizens, please, if you're in your trucks, or if you're at the gym, or if you're at your house, or if you're on a bike, if you're on a Peloton, stand up and give our next guest, Dr. Trisha Bailey, a round of applause for her life. Stand up. Give her a standing ovation.
Yeah, Torch.
Come on, stand up, Torch. We got a lot of people on the phone lines right now.
Oh, yeah, they rang all the way up.
But let's get into your story a little bit. I got family from St. Elizabeth, Dr. Bailey. My family often, they visit Black River.
I know where Black River is.
I know you know where Black River is because you're from St. Elizabeth, right?
Yes.
Alligator Pond.
I'm familiar with it.
You're
I've
familiar?
never been there.
You been to Manchester?
Yes.
Okay. What part of St. Elizabeth you from?
Woodland.
Woodland.
St. Elizabeth.
Woodland. Okay. We're from Top Hill Junction and Top Hill. No?
Manor Junction then.
Yeah? See? Oh, I went Spanish. I mean,
You ain't been home in a minute. Clearly.
I went
Sway
Spanish.
only go to the resorts. You ain't been home, Sway.
This is true. This is true. NBC News, I saw an article where they called you the richest woman in Jamaica. And you made your first million at the age of 35. But they called you the richest woman in Jamaica.
Yes.
How did you get there?
God.
God,
Amen.
speak on that,
God.
please.
Amen.
Yes.
I've always had this perseverance of resilience
that everything that I touch and everything that I do, I give it everything I have. Like, I'm tunnel vision to the extreme. I have this obsession about not finishing. If I start something, I must finish it and I must excel at it. So even if I don't win at first, I use it as a stepping stone to fix whatever it is I'm weak on. But I don't focus on what I've lost. I focus on the strength and then develop my weaknesses so that I can get to the point of excellence. For me, when you start out, you got to gun it. Just like
you got to go hard.
You got to gun it.
Yeah.
And the way that I do it in gunning it, I'm working 20 hours a day, every day. The first 6 months in my first company, I only made $15,000. And then in the 8th month, I made almost $500,000 because I just kept going and kept going. I kept hearing maybes and no's and maybes and no's, and it didn't stop me. And I am like that with every aspect of my life.
Everything you approach gung-ho, 110, 120%.
Yes.
I find this interesting because when people read the book, what you're going to realize is you go into detail about a lot of abuse and trauma that you suffered, right? And I know a lot of times when people write books, you reveal things that your closest family members may have never heard. After reading some of can you discuss that? How did you decide what you would talk about? And then how do you feel like those traumas actually helped you today, if so?
It gave me the ability to release. Once you release pain, you can replace it with love. When I was writing the book, there were a couple of things that I said, my job, the reason I'm writing this book is to help others. And in order to do so, I have to give them everything. I can't give them half the story, a part of the story. I have to completely be wide open. And my job and my responsibility my purpose is to touch young women and men across the globe. And when writing the book, a couple of things that happened, I didn't want to disclose. And my good friend, C.K. Mulford, who was a writer,
C.K.,
he says, "Why? Your secrets are not really secrets, Trish." I said, "What do you mean they're not secrets?" He said, "Tell me what the secret is." I said, well, my SATs, I don't know if I want to put that in there. And he's like, "That's not a secret. A lot of people go through that." And it's something that I couldn't accomplish.
Yeah.
So I didn't want the world to know I can't accomplish something. But I said, you know what? I'm going to add that there because there might be a young woman or a young man who is believing that they are not good enough and they cannot become because they are not able to take the standardized tests the same way the next person can. So that was one of the things that I included. The second thing that I included was that I did not want to include was a suicide attempt. And I've shared the story about my life, my voice changed and my ability to touch others changed when I started medical equipment and supplies. Through the coma, my voice changed because when my larynx was clipped, I couldn't talk. So when my voice came back, now I can't yell. I don't have a yelling voice. And so it was more calmer, which is one of my gifts that God has given me. In conjunction with being able to touch the people who are in need, who don't have resources, like the disabled and elderly. And that's why I started the Bailey's Medical Equipment and Supplies.
Wow, Dr. Trisha Bailey is here. You never know what people go through.
Facts.
Right?
Yeah.
We know the headlines that she's worth $1 billion, but we don't know what she went through to get there. And the fact that you're here to share it with us, Heather B.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much for being here today. We were having a conversation earlier this morning about marriage and partnership, and you talk about, going gung-ho and obviously God blessing you with success that I think to a degree everybody wants that. But then there's this balance in another partnership in marriage. How were you able to approach that? What's your take on it? What's your view on it? Because to me, in my world, I believe that's just as important, having that balance at home in your home life as well. Would you mind sharing some of that?
Yes. So I've been married twice. My first husband, good man. The last one, he's a great dad.
We sound like we in my kitchen now. I want to go, yes, girl, talk.
I wasn't expecting that.
Right.
I've been all formal. Trisha's like the other dude was.
Good dad said two different things, father and husband. But go ahead.
So I believe in love. So I have been chasing. I'm sure you haven't read the book yet. When you do, you'll see.
Okay.
I've been chasing love all my life. I believe in the epitome of love in others, whomever touches my life. So whatever man that is in my space, I'm like the kindest, the most loving. I'm docile. I will allow him to lead, and I believe that that's a balance, because I believe in living according to God's will. Amen. And my prescription is to be his rib, to hold him up. So that's how I encounter relationships. My children, I have 5 of them. I still do tea time, praying time, and story time every night. This week, not because I'm not home. So when I'm home, and they absolutely love it. So you have to have a balance. And how I develop this balance is I only participate in things that will move my needle in a positive direction. So if it's not something that is going to move the needle, I'm not showing up. I'm not going to be there. Whether it is moving my needle could simply be touching you and be able to talk to you and be able to encourage you, be able to give you hope and inspire you in different ways. Or moving my needle could be another positive in regards to my development of economics. So that's how so yes, I am perfectly aligned with you. It is so important.
Yeah, but how do you know if a guy likes you for your money or not?
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah, how you know if they like you for your money or
That
not?
discernment, yo.
You know, I never knew before. My ex-husband taught me how to find the one who doesn't want me for my money.
She tried to tell you. She tried to tell you, Sway, without telling you.
Word. And also on the subject of relationships, Dr. Billy, and I don't want to sit here for too long, but I know there's many women are making a lot of bread right now, and a lot of conversations are around how does one show up joyfully submissive in a relationship, in a marriage, if you're also the breadwinner as a woman? What does that look like, especially because a lot of men have been relegated to provider as like that title, as that role. Do you have some examples?
I have lots of examples of those.
Okay.
I was the breadwinner in most of my relationships. For me, it didn't work. For me, it didn't work because I wasn't equally yoked. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it won't work for someone else. But I think when a man feels that you're more powerful and stronger, a lot of men want to pull you down. They want to stomp on you to bring you down to their level. Now I have an amazing partner who's equally yoked to me. Amen. So I get the opportunity to feel what love truly feels like and what it feels like to be loved and not be loved for my money, because he has his own money.
Yes.
And, so my advice to young women, because I kept telling myself, everybody's the same. It's okay. He doesn't have this. He's trying to build. And what I do is I'm trying to help you build, but you're trying to push me down to bring me in a space that is not productive for yourself or me. And then they naturally become abusive. So that's my experience. Doesn't mean that's everyone's experience, but that's mine. So you have to find someone who's equally yoked, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and financially, hopefully.
Let's talk about it.
Trisha's here, y'all.
You dropped the doctor.
Trisha's in the building.
I love it.
Team money.
Keeping it. Team money.
Team money.
Hey, Kevin, when it comes to Trisha.
Trisha, I have a question for you. We do a lot of conversation around education. And so I love the fact that, and salute to you for being the highest University of Connecticut's alumni to give a single cash donation of $15 million to your alma mater.
Come on.
How you found that number out?
Hey.
That wasn't supposed to be disclosed.
C.K. Beaufort.
The largest though, right?
It's no longer anonymous.
Yeah.
I see that. Now you put it nationally.
But
15 million.
But you're going to have your name on the building, right? It's going to be
It will.
Bailey's facility. So only someone
snap.
who donates is able to get naming rights. So if you can talk about the importance of people giving back to their alma mater, right? And why you did it.
Black people.
So the reason why I did it, I wanted for a young girl who looked like me to have the grace that a white girl or a white boy gets on campus or any other space. Because when they look at a young white boy or girl, they say, well, he may become the next Bill Gates who's going to donate XYZ to my university. When they look at us, they don't see that. And the reason why they don't see that, because we haven't had that much impact in the philanthropic side in the foundation. Now, we do a lot of giving back, but in the larger context of it, a lot of Black people, wealthy Black people, don't. I wanted to make sure that the trajectory and the narrative change for Black women and Black boys. And so that's my reason for giving the university. In conjunction with that, they gave me my first chance. They gave me my first chance of success.
That's beautiful.
They gave me a scholarship when I didn't qualify for the scholarship. I was good enough in track, but my SATs didn't. And they figured out how to make sure that I still was be able to receive the scholarship and perform. So because of that, my alma mater is
near and dear to your heart. Yeah.
Can you go a little bit further to, because not everyone's able to give like a $15 million donation, right? Like, but can you just talk about how important even like a certain amount or anything you can give, or why it's important to give back to your alma mater?
Well, it's important to give in general, because whatever you put out into the universe, you will be multiplied and come back to you. It is just natural. It is from the passive time in the Bible. He tells you when God gave all the talents, the one that had the one talent came back with the one, he took it. So you don't deserve it because you didn't multiply it. So it is always good to be able to give back. It's not necessarily just money, though. You can give back your time. You can give advice. You can give a helping hand, and you be able to touch the lives in positive ways that you will start to see the reward of those things coming back in different ways. It's not always going to come back from who you give it to, but as long as you're kind and loving, you open up your heart and you leave your heart the space to receive love and the peace that you deserve in your life and your space. And I truly believe we all serve God. We get there in different forms, but we all serve the same God. And I truly believe that when you are injecting these positive energy into the universe, into the world, that they will come back to you the way that they have for me.
Dr. Trisha Bailey has returned
put the
to the
doctor
room.
back.
I'll put it back on. I want to open up these phone lines. We got a lot of people who want to talk with you, if you're okay with that. We're going to play a song, and then we'll come back with these callers, all right? J45, Sway in the Morning. We got Dr. Trisha Bailey, who has a new book. And I want to encourage everyone within the sound of our voices to not only buy the book for yourself or listen to it for yourself, but tell 3 to 5 people in your family to listen to it. It's called Unbroken, the triumphant story of a woman's journey. Dr. Trisha Bailey is from Jamaica, grew up with humble beginnings, moved to Hartford, Connecticut at 13, ended up going to UConn, where she became afterwards the youngest stockbroker in Solomon Smith and Barney's history. And that was at the age of 22.
Yep. And the only Black female stockbroker in New England.
To do so. She's been very philanthropic. She's invested in STEM organizations around STEM and single mothers. She owns over 16 companies. She's worth over $1 billion. She didn't have any tricks. There weren't, any privileges. There weren't any funds, any wills, any inheritance. She didn't have those things to come from these humble beginnings and become a billionaire. She's a Black woman. I don't know. I've met Oprah in passing. I've never had this amount of conversation with a Black woman who's a billionaire other than Heather B. Heather B's a billionaire too.
Billy talk in the building.
I don't know if you knew that. And so this is really powerful. I'm gonna get to these phone lines, but I do want to ask you when you started navigating, because you done spoke on global conferences, World Economic Conferences, right? You've been a speaker in front of the world, and I'm just curious because that world is so isolated, and we were talking about access. A lot of us don't have access, and I'm sure you've been in plenty of rooms where you saw no one that looked like you. And for some folks, it could be intimidating, but obviously it wasn't for you. What advice would you give to people who don't really come from that corporate elite world?
Yes.
In that business world where you're dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars as opposed to tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. What advice would you give to people who find themselves in that space and feel like they don't necessarily belong in that space?
Well, if you're there, you definitely belong.
Okay.
Because you want to be there if you didn't belong.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing in life happens for coincidence. Everything is for a reason. So if you're in a room and you're the only Black person, which I've been many times, I find that I'm encouraged to do great. Because what happened is, like, if I do great, the next hire they're going to say, oh, I need another Trisha Bailey. So I've always kind of take that premises that do everything with my maximum effort, excel so much, keep your blinders on because the sexism and the racism is as strong as they possibly can be. I ignore those things because I'm going to make sure that my excellence is so strong that you cannot deny me.
Yeah.
And when you're in that space, and many, many people will be and are, hold it, hone it. This is yours. This is your blessing. And you have to show your excellence. Don't be intimidated by someone because no one is better than you. Every person that I meet, I treat them exactly the same. You could be homeless. You could be the president. You could be the global economic leader. You are exactly the same to me. So I inject love and kindness, and I'm naturally just me.
Okay. It's when you start making, well, maybe I'm speaking about my experience. When money becomes a little more abundant and you come from a very humble beginning, especially if it's like public assistance and no electricity and no water and that sort of thing. When you start making abundance, you're entering a realm that you're now familiar with 9 times out of 10. Nobody in your family is because you ain't had these kind of riches. How did you adjust? Like, when did you first start making money and seeing that, okay, this medical thing seems like it's working? And then how did you adjust to a different, like, tax bracket, being a different social status, when other people are still where they were?
Yeah.
So I'm still adjusting.
Okay, that's fair.
I am still adjusting because the spaces I'm functioning now, I didn't know they exist.
Okay.
Because when you get to the billionaire space, the people you engage with, they're different than the average person.
Do they look human?
Yeah.
Some of them don't.
Do you get like a celebration from your bank when you hit that status? Is there like balloons and champagne?
Okay. But it's different though, right?
It is very different. It is a different space to function that you're functioning in. And I forgot your question. So
how do you? But people around you have to adjust to it too. Like your sisters, your brothers, your uncles, your cousins, and the cousins you never knew you had. You know, how does that work?
So I tell my mom, I'm like, Mom, I've had money for a very long time. Just because the hype is there don't mean that you got to jump on it too, because everyone think you have a money tree in the backyard and you could just, give them $100,000 for Scotch Barney peanut butter or something crazy. that was actually a real request.
Oh, really? Oh, damn! $100,000 for a candy bar?
Scotch Barney peanut butter.
Yeah, a hot peanut butter.
Spicy peanut butter.
Pepper, Sway.
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know.
You ain't been home in a minute, but
Right.
keep going.
Go ahead. I'm
Trisha.
sorry. Go ahead, Trisha.
See, I'm gonna need you not clean that you Jamaican anymore, Sway.
Okay.
You heard it.
Come on. You didn't even know where Oswald was. All right.
T Money has spoken.
True.
But how do you how do you manage the people around you when you reach that status?
I care for every person that's with me. So I look for, and one of the gifts that God has given me of recently is discernment. I'm able to meet someone and tell exactly what is happening in their space, whether it's they're being kind, whether it's a jealous feeling, a toxic, I can feel that. The people that are close to me, I make sure I'm caring for them the same way. If I eat, you eat. I've always been like that. So my first employee is actually my CEO, and he's one of my closest friends because he's stuck with me, and I make sure that whatever I do is impactful positively in his life. And that's where I am for every person who's around me. Now, there's lots of cousins and aunties and all those things that shows up. I'm going to be completely transparent because that's who I am. They didn't tell me that I shouldn't air my dirty laundry. That's why my book is like this. Why do you want to talk to me now? And all these years that you know that I'm here working, you never wanted to be in my circle. You never received me. You're visiting Orlando and I've lived there forever and you never wanted to come hang out. Why do you want to do it now? So I'm still kind in my words.
Okay.
I'm always kind in my words, but I'm also realistic if you need something, I will help you if I have the ability to do so. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a part of my circle because you didn't want to be before. So I don't know why you want to be now.
Okay. That's respect. Hey, come on, man. That's real. We're all nodding. Very
That's real.
Jamaican of you too,
Yeah.
Trish.
That's generous too.
And kind with her words. I love it. Dr. Trisha Bailey is here. Heather has a brand called Billy Talk.
Yeah.
You know, and she sells cosmetics, and she's done merch, and she's sold a whole lot of different things. Tracy G has a health and wellness brand as well. She does public speaking, so on and so forth. Mike Muse is probably one of the most sought after commentators, producers that there is in the game right now. Torch has his own music that he's put out and merch that he's put out. Kalani got his own merch and music. DB has his. He's a DJ. He's a collector. He does a whole lot of different. We all do something. What advice would you give us? Like, what kind of business? I know it's different businesses and it's a broad question, but what would you say to us? Like, what advice would you give to these people who are passionate about what they're invested in?
So I always tell people your first employee should be a sales rep. And the reason why is that because you're doing either your manufacturing or in your cosmetic line, you're building the infrastructure. The salespeople that bring the business to you. So I always say that the first employee in any company should be a salesperson, because it's going to help you as the owner get the freedom to not have to go do all the networking, do all those things. So they are your face. Keep tunnel vision. Continue doing all your processes the way that you should, making sure that the money that the company makes, there's a portion that gets reinvested back into the company. I understand that you have to live, but make sure that the first portion of the money is into an account that gets reinvested, whether it is the expansion of your line, whether expansion of a new store, or whatever the dimensions are. So I think that that's the easiest way to answer such a broad question with so many different things that you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Individually, I'll be able to give you better directives.
Are you open to that? Do you mentor a lot of folks?
I do. I mentor a lot of people.
Okay. All right. Cool. I'm gonna run some things by you. All right. We got GQ is on the line, actually from Connecticut.
GQ, what's up?
Hey, GQ.
GQ.
Hey, what's going on, Sway? Tracy G has
Yo,
the beat.
what
and
up, baby?
Trish, good morning.
And good morning.
All right, Fleet DJ's in the. But I just want to, man, she's probably one of the greatest human beings on the planet, y'all. And I'm saying this sincerely.
Really?
Because when we were in high school, when she talks about this tunnel vision, that's just what she was. While we would, all walking down the halls talking, and she was busy. She was heading to class. Or when we were outside, getting ready for a football game or this, she wasn't doing that. She was warming up, stretching, get ready for this meet. But here's the greatness of Trish. I'm going to tell you this. We didn't know how great she was going to be until we saw her on the cover of our local newspaper running track. And even then, we didn't know that she was going to ascend to such heights as where she is. But she's always been very humble in her nature, humble in her walk, and that's what really elevates her. And I got to say, and I'm saying this to you personally, Trish, thank you, because with y'all, she saved my life at one point. And I'm forever indebted to push her story, tell people about her. I'm telling you, get this book. I'm in this book, and there's so many gems in there that we didn't know. And I'm not gonna keep it short because I know other people.
Do she know you?
GQ.
Right.
His name is GQ. He said he went to high school with you.
Yeah, this is Gerald.
Gerald.
Oh, Gerald. Okay.
Yes.
Damn. Well, Gerald, you talking about GQ?
Alias.
I don't know who that is.
That's like
Come on, man.
he called up so
this is
familiar.
Gerald. I'm on Sway all the time. We always talking, but my thing is just coming from the same streets.
It's just
that she
amazing
came
to
from, the
see.
same-
Yeah. You saying she was determined like this in high school and everything. Everything she's been saying to us today has been extremely
It's
accurate.
no bullshit.
Yeah.
No bullshit.
Gerald, thank you for your call. You're a super citizen, man.
That's
That's
Sway
a
in the
beautiful,
morning.
man. I like that. You got a lot of
Trisha
callers.
ain't know
Thank
him
you for
at
calling,
first, though.
Gerald.
Yeah. Trish didn't say one word.
Yeah, that she was so
She just
nice.
hit
She
him
was
up.
kind.
She said that's what she mean by she's kind.
She said,
bro.
But he called up as
actually,
GQ.
I do know him. And when he said Gerald, I didn't know GQ, so I'm like,
Oh, well, that's who he is when he ain't around you. You didn't know that part about him, Trish. All right. Daphne is on the line from Florida. Go ahead, Daphne.
It's Daphne. Hi, Sway.
Oh, Daphne, my bad.
What's up, Daph?
Hey,
Hello, everyone.
What's up, Daphne?
I am very, very grateful to get through. I'm a chef here in Boca and South Florida, and I am going through a spiritual journey, and I need to work on my confidence, my self-worth. I have 2 kids, unhappily married. I hope no one's hearing, but it's hard because I'm mentally stuck. I'm trying to understand how to get through my trauma, my childhood trauma, how to not bring it down to my kids, how to succeed without being scared, because I feel like I start and I can never finish. I feel I start and I'm scared to proceed because of failure or negative opinions. All of that scares me. And I'm just stuck. You being on the call right now, I need to know how to build my self-worth and confidence.
So the first thing I would like for you to do, what I did was I did EMDR therapy. And what it did for me was it helped me to release the trauma that is making the decisions for me. So what I would like for you to do, if you have the resources to do so, is to do EMDR therapy. It's a non-talk therapy. And it helps you to eliminate the trauma so that you can choose better for your life. It will also give you kind of a peace to be able to be more confident in yourself. It will also give you the ability to connect with your children better, to connect with others better. In your professional space, I want you to write all your goals down in a notebook, but I don't want you writing in just words. I want you doing numbers. So whatever it is professional that you're doing right now, write those numbers down. If you want to make $100,000 for the year, I want you to start with that. And the next step, I want you to break those numbers down into individual parts, because what happened, numbers don't change. Numbers, you can say I want a lot of money. Your lot of money might be different from my lot of money. So when you do numbers, what will happen, you have a specific goal to work towards. And when it get hard, and hopefully you're spiritual like I am, just pray. Ask God for clearance, ask him for strength, ask him for prosperity, ask him for everything that you need, and just give your whole heart into it. In regards to your significant other who is not as great as you would like for him at the moment, find his love language, feed his love language. And in you feeding his love language, hopefully he feeds yours back. And make sure he knows whatever your love language is. Tell him, I only receive love this way. So if you're not doing it this way, I don't receive it. So if he's showing you love through acts of service, but your love language quality time, you have to tell him. You have to talk to me. You have to spend time with me. And hopefully in those things will help you better. And next year when we hear from you, then I hear from you, you're going to be a better person.
Love it, Daphne.
Wow. She says she cooks. What? You know I cook. Daph, what's your social? I'm going to follow you right now.
Chef Daphne _ ChefDaphne_ on Instagram.
All right.
Nice.
I'm following you right now.
Thank you so much, guys.
Daphne, be
I'm so
great.
grateful.
Rooting for you.
Great.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
you got that billionaire advice right there.
Yeah, put it into
That's
action.
right. I'm so happy. Thank
Yes.
you guys so
And your
much.
plates look beautiful. I'm on your page right now. It's dope.
You're a citizen.
Sway in the
Let
morning.
me take one more caller. Tony in Philly, real quick. Go ahead. You got a quick question, quick answer. Go for it.
Tony.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, Doctor. I started a business just by accident in 2008, a courier service, and it started out as just myself and 2 other drivers, and it's grown to 18 drivers that work for me now.
That's
so
awesome.
Nice.
I'm trying to get to the point where I started going after business funding last year, and I had a hiccup where I had one payment that I missed with my business that's late, and I'm trying to work around trying to get rid of that so I can get back on course and be able to continue to grow my business.
So I want you to just go on my Instagram, creating my own yes, message me, tell me you're the person that's on the radio. I'm going to send you a resource that's going to help you get from where you are, because one, late shouldn't prevent you from getting business loans or lines of credits or any of the above. So I think that you may just be talking to the wrong people.
Creating my own yes. If you hear my own yes, OWNYES. Creating my own yes. Anybody tuned in right now? Dr. Trisha Bailey just said it's okay to follow her.
Yeah.
Go ahead and follow her.
Say that you was listening to Sway in the morning.
And DM her some if you need a question answered, maybe she has some information for you. She could give it to you. Follow her at Creating My Own Yes. And the book is Unbroken, the triumphant story of a woman's journey. Is out right now, Tony. Make sure you get the book. You're a citizen, all right?
Sway in the morning.
I am. This is I'm a first time caller. Thank you so much.
We got a first time caller. Hold up. Hey.
And the book is available on Amazon. I just got it, so it's there, Tony.
All right, Tone. You're a citizen, man.
Sway in the morning, bro.
Listen, Dr. Trisha Bailey, this is the first out of a series of conversations we should be having when you come to New York, if you're okay with that.
Of course.
All right. This is great. Thank you for joining us today. I got a question. Sharika Jackson, Elaine Thomas Hara, or Shelly Ann Frazier?
Why would you do this to me?
Troublemaker.
Who is the MVP in track and field right now for Jamaica?
Oh, man. All of them. They're all excellent.
That's a Jamaican answer right there.
Great answer.
Good answer.
She got to go back home, Sway, not you.
But what is it to watch this dominance that these women have had on track and field for so long? I'm a fan of all of them, by the way.
So am I.
All right. What has that been like for Jamaica? Like the morale in Jamaica when you go home?
You know, when the Americans, now it's always a Jamaican-American rivalry, right? I'm like, well, if we didn't win that race, we have an excuse because we're this tiny, where America is ginormous, so you're supposed to win everything.
Oh, that's your excuse? That's all you got?
That's all I got.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
That was good.
It's been amazing watching the Jamaican team. Like I remember when Ben Johnson was Jamaican, but he was Canadian though. So right, he was right.
Yes.
So I grew up watching track and field, and just to see what's happening now. Even Noah Lyles, threatening Usain Bolt's 200-meter record, and all of these. You see these times now. Flojo record. Sharika almost broke the 200-meter record. Right.
Yes.
Sha'Carri, you're a Sha'Carri fan as well,
yes,
right?
I am.
Okay, cool. That's all the same family.
Yes.
All right. Okay. But it's amazing to have you here. Give her a big round of applause, Dr. Trisha Bailey.
Thank you
All right.
so much.
Okay.